And welcome back to the Idiots Football Show. I'm here with idiot number 1 on my right.
Good to be back, as always.
And idiot number 2 on my left.
Still sad from that Ravens game, Bella.
And idiot number 3 in the middle. So let's get right into it. I'm going to be honest with you. I want to talk about this Philadelphia Eagles game. We're fresh off the heels of an absolutely dominant victory against the Minnesota Vikings. And to be honest with you, I'm quite impressed, boys. Eagles are looking nice. Jalen Hurts, impressive for a good while in the first quarter. Through the first quarter, he was perfect completing passes.
Was he really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not see that at first.
I'm not shocked. I mean, he's had flashes. It hasn't been all bad for him. The accuracy hasn't been there throughout the early part of his career, but he's had flashes.
No, I agree. And to be honest with you, he looked like a special player in that game. I mean, he was so dominant. It was really good to see. It was good to see him, attack on the ground, attack in the air. Like, he was efficient no matter what he was doing. And I think that's something that has really been a major point in the Jalen Hurts saga, and to really see it all together like that was absolutely awesome.
You know what I saw was very effective during that game? It was probably the most efficient RPO efficiency I've ever seen. It worked pretty much every time. I think Jalen Hurts scored 2 rushing touchdowns off of it. It was amazing. I was very...
Breaking tackles, too, along the way.
Yeah.
He was power running, which is something we haven't really seen from him too much.
You don't see a lot of quarterbacks power run. I mean, the only other guy we really see that does that consistently is probably Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that second touchdown run, oh my God. He's going through 4 guys on the goal line, and he gets in on a 24-yard rush. Like, you can't beat that.
It was perfect.
And on top of that, they had Devonta Smith involved, and he looked great last
night.
night.
It's about time.
That's what I'm saying. 7 receptions for about 70-something yards. I mean, the guy was on. A.J. Brown looked great. And you know what? I think something that we really need to talk about is the defense.
Oh.
The defense, oh my God. Justin Jefferson got his ass shut down last night by Darius Slay. Darius Slay is an absolutely phenomenal quarterback. He got snubbed last year from the Pro Bowl. And you know what? He's back with a vengeance this year. Between him, James Bradbury, and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, we have a mean secondary, and we played up to that mean secondary ability last night.
I still can't believe you got James Bradbury for as little as you did. It was such an easy get, and that's an instant starter and an instant guy that is making an impact in the back end. He looks good.
And not even just that, we took him from the New York Giants.
Right.
We stole him. We stole him from an in-division team. I'll take that all day. You can't beat that.
It feels just a little bit better when you're able to do
that. 100%.
Yeah. It really does. And on top of that, to stay on this Eagles game, I think it's just funny because, we watch Kirk Cousins where he's Mr. Average. I am a Kirk Cousins fan. I enjoy watching him. But holy shit, he looked terrible last night.
One of the worst games I've seen him play.
No, 100%. I mean, Kirk Cousins is not a primetime guy. Nor has he ever been a primetime guy. But holy Jesus, that was terrible. You know what? It's a good thing I bet on Philadelphia last night because I made a nice little chunk of change out of it. I'm not going to lie to you boys. It felt pretty good.
Well, you walk all over the Packers in week 1, the Vikings did, and then they come out against the Eagles and get completely shut down. Justin Jefferson, I think it's not surprising to me because Darius Slay is one of the top corners in the league. A guy that the Eagles got him, again, for a very low price considering who he is and how good he is a few years ago.
And they got him to be that shutdown guy.
And he is. I mean, Justin Jefferson is the hardest guy to cover in football. He's the best route runner. He's incredible hands, great speed. He's a guy that is very difficult to shut down. So the fact that they were able to do that and execute the game plan the way they did against the team that rolled over Aaron Rodgers last week, that's really impressive. The Eagles made a statement to me.
No, they really did.
I think Kirk Cousins, I swear, is cursed. I think it's once... I don't know who gave it to him. I don't know what happened. They were putting together some good drives early in the first half, really. And some of them just got shut down. And then in the second half, you saw the worst interceptions I've ever seen a quarterback throw ever. Straight to the Eagles defenders 3 times. I couldn't... Watching those 3 picks made me go brain dead. I'm like...
I think the last pick was probably the worst because he threw it at Darius Slay's way to Justin Jefferson on that 3rd down, incompleted, almost picked off. He says, "You know what? Let me do that again."
Yeah.
And this time he's like, "You know what? Let me make sure I throw that pick, make it perfect mail for the other team." And you know what? I'll take it.
Jefferson is such a taller player than Slay. I don't get. The easiest, simple thing is just catch it where either Jefferson can get it or nobody can.
We got to throw it where a guy can get it. And that's the big thing. I feel like Kirk Cousins didn't do a lot of that.
There was only so much that Justin Jefferson could do. I mean, it's kind of funny to even say this, but he did have some beautiful throws to Adam Thielen. Very late in the game, some unbelievably tight pocket throws. I mean, oh my God. I saw him the red one. Yeah. And Thielen was getting shut down. I mean, he didn't have a target until the 4th quarter. I mean, they didn't let him do a thing. And even Dalvin Cook looked like a shell of Dalvin Cook. He didn't look that great.
I don't know.
For a team that I don't think has such a phenomenal run defense that they should be able to shut down a top-tier running back like Dalvin Cook, especially for a total of, 60 yards combined?
Dude, they shut Dalvin Cook down for 6 carries for 17 yards.
Kirk Cousins outrushed him.
That's insane.
Dude, I'll take that any day of the week. And you know what? I think to wrap up this Eagles game, something I really want to talk about and really hit home, it's something that didn't happen in the game but happened right after the game, and it's going to be with Jalen Hurts. So his post-game interview, he really is a dog, and he has that mentality. It's something that, especially being an Eagles fan, we're kind of accustomed to that dog mentality. And, oh my God, it's just like he's a man's man. He's in there to win. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, we didn't execute here and there. We got to do this better. We can do that better. And he wants to bring this team up to a whole nother standard. He was talking about last night how they didn't play up to their standard. And they kicked the shit out of Minnesota.
They did.
If they didn't play up to their standard last night, I want to see what the Jalen Hurts standard is going to be going forward, because that's going to be one hell of an impressive standard.
It is crazy, too, because they didn't score at all in the second half. Like, there is actual room for improvement, and yet you could safely say this is a easily top 10 team, and you can argue that it's a top 5 team in the league. I think the Eagles are a very good team this year, and I think they're going to keep it up throughout the year, too.
No, it's going to be very exciting. And you know what? I think, for you guys, because obviously you're a Dolphins fan and you're a Ravens fan, I think something that we got to start talking about right now is the Dolphins-Ravens game. I mean, oh my God. What a game. That was probably the game of the week.
It might be the game of the year if nothing else compares to it.
Hold your
horses. It's only in week 2, I understand, but it was madness the way it came. I can let you start.
No, go ahead. You're the winning team over here. Go ahead.
So I should point out I was lucky enough to head to the game that week. I was sitting high up in the crowd. Very entertaining game. Even to the first kickoff when Duvernay, 102 yards kick return, as much as it hurt, it was electric. M&T Bank is a great stadium to go to, and I highly recommend to anybody. Great place to go. And throughout the first quarter, in the first half, it was demoralizing for me as a Dolphins fan. Everything was going the Ravens' way. They had the kick return.
Was Bateman, it like 28-7 at one point?
It was 28-7. Bateman had a 75-yard reception touchdown. It was going bad, and then. Oh my goodness, the fourth quarter, we wanted to leave in the third quarter, and we're like, there is a little bit of a chance here. We're gonna stay. We're gonna wait it out and see what happens. And all of a sudden, it just clicked. Like the defense, the offense started opening up more. The speed really got to show between Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. The deep bombs, both times to Tyreek Hill. I can't talk enough about it. You watch Tyreek Hill run in person.
He's quick.
He's quick.
Well, I think there's something to be said for having the 2 fastest receivers in the league. I mean, it really makes you an offensive threat. Even Tua, who is someone that we don't necessarily believe is the guy. I mean, he looked like the guy on Sunday.
All you need to be with those kind of fast receivers is be accurate enough to get those guys the ball. And those guys will make the plays. And that's exactly what he did, and he was able to do.
Yeah, he let him do the work.
This is not a huge knock against Tua, because I think it's pretty obvious, but he threw a lot of lollipops. Like, there's not a lot of, I don't know what the word is, but power behind the ball.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of zip behind the ball. He throws them pretty light, a lot of air under it, but it works because these guys are so quick and they're so athletic, they can just get under it. And that's the thing. I mean, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle ran all over the Ravens. I'll get to the Ravens in a second. I want to let you finish up on the Dolphins, but man, I mean, Tua, that's the best I've seen him look. But even so, I think there's room for improvement with him.
Oh, there definitely is. Between the 2 interceptions, the first one was a great play by, who had the first interception?
Marcus Williams had both.
Oh, he had both, yeah. The first one, insane athletic play, put his hand right under the ball before it got to the ground. That was amazing. And then the second one, completely on Tua. That was
overthrow by about 10 yards.
That was really bad. I will give him that. But after that pick, he clicked, and you saw him anticipating each throw. He anticipated each wide receiver every time. It was impressive. And I think the most impressive throw was the Gesicki touchdown in the back of the end zone. That was probably one of the most athletic plays by a tight end I've seen. Catch. Great catch. Awful dance. That's fine. And the energy in the stadium, when it was depleted of all the Ravens, it felt really good for me.
I was going to say, he hit that white guy gritty, right? Like the gritty that didn't look like a gritty.
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that was who I'm thinking of right now.
It was... That hurt.
You got to practice that a little bit if you want to show it out on the field. That was embarrassing.
If you think that hurt, I'm still hurting right now. I mean, the Ravens, did something that hadn't been done in 12 years. And that's they blew a 21-point lead in the fourth quarter. They went to the fourth quarter and got 28 put up on them. Tua threw 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter.
They were on their Atlanta Falcons shit last night, 2 nights ago, man. They really wanted to be the Falcons of old.
I'm going to start with the offense because this is the best offense the Ravens have had since 2019, and it's not even close. 2021, 2020, they were fine, pretty injured in both seasons. Now most of the offense is healthy, and it looks better than they ever had. And Bateman is a star in the making. That guy first 2 weeks, he's been electric. He's now the wide receiver 1, and I think that's a big step for them. Bateman is so much better as a number 1 than Marquise Hollywood Brown ever was because Brown couldn't take hits, had a lot of drops. Even though the speed and athleticism is there were some definite limitations to him. Rashad Bateman's a pure number 1 and showed it again on Sunday.
What?
Lamar Jackson is straight up unreal. I mean, the guy ran for 119. His quarterback rating was 142. The guy he played his best game he has since 2019. That's saying something because he's had a lot of games in there that have been really good.
No, fair enough. I mean, Rashad Bateman is really a great player. I do agree with that. But I think that's something that this team is missing is obviously they're really missing a number 2 receiver, and they could feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, you could feel it late in this game. It was hard to move the ball.
Yeah.
And that's something that they're seriously going to need to consider, as they go further and further into this season as, injuries happen and just as the game progresses, you're going to see teams really kind of target Rashad Bateman and just kind of double team him. I mean, at that point, between him and Mark Andrews, it's hard to get the ball to anybody else. And you can see it from the running back position. They have nobody there right now between Kenyon Drake, Mike Davis. They really need J.K. and Gus Bus back. Otherwise, I don't know how this team going forward is going to be able to be consistently good enough to be that team, to be the team they want to be, the division-winning Ravens.
Well, J.K. Dobbins should be back next week. He's healthy, but obviously it's going to be one of those break-in periods where he starts off slow because he is coming back from tearing 4 different muscles in his leg. So this is a guy who is going to be slow played for the most part, and he's going to get probably 10 carries in his first game back. They'll build him up throughout the year. But Lamar Jackson, he is this team right now. He's carrying the team on his back. I mean, again, 120 rushing yards and 318 through the air, 3 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground. I mean, this guy is the Ravens at the moment. And you saw how accurate he was on Sunday. He was maybe the most accurate he's ever been. He really didn't miss a throw for the most part. And that's against a Dolphins defense that I consider pretty good. So I was very, very happy to see the Ravens offense do that. The defense, on the other hand, I'll say this real quick, Adam, and I'll let you get that in. The defense played a good first half. I thought they, contained Tua pretty well and contained, all the speed that's on that Miami offense pretty well. But in the second half, they were tired. They lost Marlon Humphrey, and that's when the game really started going off the rails. Marlon Humphrey is the best player in that secondary outside of maybe Marcus Williams, and he has such a huge influence, especially when your other corners are banged up Marcus Peters, just coming back, who hasn't played in 2 years, and Jalen Armour-Davis and Pepe Williams, 2 rookies. So it's really, really tough for the Ravens to, mount a consistent pass defense without Marlon Humphrey on the field, and that really is what led to the Miami Dolphins winning. It's just because they had no experience in the backfield. Jalen Armour-Davis got roasted by Tyreek Hill for the game-tying touchdown. It really hurt them having Marlon Humphrey go off the field.
Yeah, I want to point out Lamar Jackson, 21 for 29, 318 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns, along with the 79-yard rushing touchdown. They should put more respect on his name if they haven't already. He was unbelievable.
Thank you for saying that, Adam. I appreciate it.
No, but here's the one big thing with Lamar. I mean, I know I don't want to talk too much about his contract just because I know obviously he doesn't want to talk about it. It's a thing that's been talked about heavily, especially in this recent media cycle. But honestly, he wants that bag, and I think he's going for $400 million. I think people who are selling him short on that $400 million mark, it's stupid. Like, how could a guy this talented not catch a bag that big? I have a hard time just not seeing that. I mean, to be honest with you, he's the better version, the original version of Jalen Hurts. I get to watch the little bit thicker, a little bit shorter Jalen Hurts, a little bit slower, but you know what? It's a very, very fun game to watch, and your team becomes so dynamic with a player like that. I have a hard time seeing how he's not going to catch a $400 million deal this offseason.
It's very electrifying to watch those kind of guys. It's so much fun. And to the game, the reason the Dolphins were able to stay into this game, where throughout the game you could see that the Ravens were scoring on just big plays. I mean, they put together some good drives when Mark Andrews scored the touchdown. But for the most part, it was big-time plays. And that allowed the Dolphins were still having good drives, but were getting stalled late. And that's kind of what ended up not having them score only 7 points in the first half. And then you see it, it was probably maybe a little fatigue in the backfield. Maybe the speed of the Dolphins was catching up to everybody.
It did.
It was, and that's the factor that you have to bring into this team is that speed is real. The running game wasn't much effective, but when you're down 3 scores, you're not really going to run the ball. And Tyreek Hill showed that he's a top. I think I could say he's a top 5 receiver in the league. I could safely say it. His speed is unmatched, only to Jalen Waddle, and there's not much else I could say about this.
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Something that we've definitely learned in this new NFL, and we see a new theme pop out between these coaches and play styles of players, and they kind of as the game evolutionizes and evolves and becomes something new. I mean, we see how speed really does kill in the NFL, especially now. And now I want to move on to the next part of this conversation. I know you really want to talk about your AFC East division, and I know that's something important. And obviously, division's looking kind of interesting right now, especially with Miami and the Bills being tied for first place. It's a very early part of the season, but I wanted to see what you have to think about that right now.
It's going to be very exciting. We actually have a Week 3 matchup with the Bills this week, so that's going to be very interesting. But for the most part, this division has actually gotten a lot better. The only team that's maybe downgrading is the Patriots, but as you can see, the Jets are getting a little better by better each year, and the Bills are now the best team in the league easily after that beatdown to the Titans. Like, this is going to be a heck of a matchup this week. It's hopefully going to be a offensive shootout, and hopefully the Dolphins can keep it close to the end of the game. That way, something else can happen where we can take over and possibly win that game.
So wait, we have Bills-Dolphins coming up this next week?
Yes, we do.
Oh, that's going to be an absolutely electric game to see who takes the division, especially this early on. A little bit of a tone setter. Now, do you know where this game is? Is this home or away from Miami?
It's away from No, it's home for Miami.
Now, this is going to be a huge game, especially being home for Miami this early in the season, Kind of gives them a little bit of an advantage against a team that everyone seemingly consensusly thinks is going to be a Super Bowl contender, if not, the favorite to win the Super Bowl. It's quite impressive. It really is.
For the Dolphins, each week has been getting better and better. The first week was to prove that we're much better than the Patriots and we're a much better team. This was saying, okay, we just beat a really good team in the Ravens and made an impressive comeback, showing that we proved ourselves a little more. And now this is a real test. This is the final exam of the first week, the first part of football. And if we could at least keep it close, I'd be very happy because I know how good the Bills are. So if we could keep it into a 1-score game, I wouldn't be too upset. Obviously, you want to win the game, but the Bills are just so good. We're going to hope that the Dolphins keep it close.
No, that makes sense. And honestly, I think your division has some interesting pieces to it. I mean, we saw the Jets beat Cleveland last week, and that's a very, very stout defense they have. And especially they came back throughout that game. They weren't leading until the very, very end. And even to say, Joe Flacco looked elite. Kind of funny to say that, but Joe Flacco at his old-ass age finally looked elite again. First time since he's been on the Ravens. That team looks special. It looks like they have some great talent, and they're really building something there. It's going to be exciting to see what happens come Week 4 when Zach Wilson's coming back into the fray, and to see if he's really going to be that guy for this team and take him to the next level.
I really hope so. I mean, as much as the Jets are a division rival, I kind of like to see them do a little good. I like to see the bottom-tier teams make a comeback and be a better team. And I think Robert Saleh is a really top-tier head coach. He's really coming into himself his second year, and I think he's going to show out how good of a head coach he really is. And I think he's going to develop his players very well. And if the only person that really matters is Zach Wilson. If he can develop, then the whole team will take that next step and become they're a below average team. They will make that step to an average to around an average team, and that's where you want to be by the end of this year.
I mean, I definitely agree. I think that being an average team for the Jets is definitely an improvement over what they've been in the past couple of years, and especially to see that would be great. Now to move on to another team within the same division. I mean, obviously we saw the Patriots win a very hard fought battle this week against the Steelers. Oh my God, what a terrible game to watch! If you watched that, I'm sorry, you wasted some time. But you know what? It doesn't surprise me that the Patriots won an absolute dogfight. I mean, that's what they're equipped to do. and you could see it. Something different than what Coach Rob Saleh has been able to do is Bill Belichick has had a really difficult time recently developing a lot of his young talent. Has had a very difficult time.
It's showing, especially on the offensive side. They can't get offensive going for their life. Their receivers are not that well.
There's no weapons.
No weapons at all.
I agree, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's an issue when your number one receiver is it Jacoby Myers?
Yes.
Is it Nelson Aguilar?
It's Jacoby Myers.
I mean,
it should be.
Yeah, and they even picked up Devontae Parker this offseason. It just seems like they keep picking up a lot of just very odd, random receivers. And even the tight end position, last year or 2 years ago, they picked up Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith. They just seem to collect these very oddball weapons that, they've had flashes in the pan, but seemingly, they're not capitalizing on any of that. All these players have seemingly kind of faded into the background.
They don't work well together.
Team. You're 100% right. They don't work well together. And on top of that, I mean, we can see Mac Jones is clearly struggling to kind of, facilitate the ball to all of these different targets and receivers. And maybe that's because of a lack of chemistry, which I could understand. But at this point, I mean, you have the quote-unquote greatest head coach of all time, better than Bill Walsh, better than anybody you could even claim. Yet this is the offensive output you're putting out.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's hard to watch, and to be honest with you, it makes me feel a little uncomfortable going in the future for the Patriots, especially looking at Bill Belichick. As he gets older and older, he is slightly older than Pete Carroll, making him the oldest head coach in the league. But I don't know how much more time is on the clock for Coach Belichick,
yeah.
Especially I mean, granted, he's only had 2 losing seasons in the past 20-something years, and this will probably be his 3rd. But it's just hard to watch this team, the way they play, the way they operate. It's hard to say that this is a well-coached operation currently.
Yeah. And side note, the Ravens do play them this week. So it's Ravens-Pats coming up, and we'll talk about that later on. But, I mean, that's a little bit of a confidence booster for me. Coming off this loss, they're playing basically inside the Afc East right now, the Ravens are, because they got the Bills next week. So it's all 4 teams basically to start off this season for them. The Patriots are the one that I'm honestly the most confident in, because you're right, they don't have an offense. The defense is okay, but I don't really see how they're going to stop the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens they put up 38 on a good defense in Miami. I don't see how they're going to fold against the Patriots next week, so I'm pretty confident in that. And the Bills will be a whole different story. We'll talk about that next week. The Bills will be tougher. But I said with the Dolphins last week that I thought it was kind of a power shift. The Dolphins, getting to the top of that division, the Patriots getting to the bottom. I think the Dolphins are right there with the Bills. Like, they are right there. I don't think they're quite as good, but they're right up there. I think a playoff spot is all but sure. I think this team is really good. Good.
I think you're honestly right about that, with the Raiders going 0-2.
Yeah.
Even
the Chargers don't look all that good.
Broncos are 1-1, and they're not looking too good. We'll see. I mean, the Chargers will be fine. But
I think so. I think so.
For this early in the season, I'm going to put the hot take alert up, because that's definitely a hot take.
Good.
But you know what? It's time. I like your transition here. I'm going to move on to the AFC North and really kind of talk about this. I'm intrigued to see how you think about this, how this division is going and where it's heading in these next couple weeks, especially as we've seen the Bengals just completely fail to, really fix up that offensive line and make it a place where Joe Burrow can live, as he's been the most sacked quarterback in the league so far through 2 weeks. We've seen Cleveland actually be a halfway decent team through the first 2 weeks, even though they blew a game to the Jets, but they have a lot of talent on that roster. And the Steelers just cannot play offense. Mitchell Trubisky is not a starting quarterback, and it is very obvious.
No.
But you know what? I have a feeling that we're going to see Kenny Pickett coming sooner than later. We'll probably see him around week 4, week 5, when that offensive line really has a lot of continuity built up. They're kind of ready to go, and kind of leave a safer pocket for, the guy you draft with your first-round pick, the guy you have so much invested into. Now, Goodman, I really do want to hear your take on this division.
I mean, it stings a lot less losing to the Dolphins when every other team in the division lost as well. The Bengals are 0-2 now. And I talked about it last week with Joe Burrow, that I think Joe Burrow is an excellent quarterback, top tier, but he's looked very bad. And he hasn't had a lot of protection in these first 2 weeks, and they've lost 2 games that they definitely should have won. You've got to beat the Cowboys. You have to. And the Browns, you've got to beat the Jets. I know it's Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. He's looked a lot better than I thought. But you still have Nick Chubb back there. You've got to lean on guys like that. Donovan Peoples-Jones has had a pretty good start to the season. You've got to lean on those guys. You cannot lose to old man Joe Flacco and the Jets. I can't believe that actually happened after the Ravens blew them out 24-9, I think it was. So it's to me, this division is pretty weak. The Steelers, not a very strong team. They lost to A Patriots team that's simply not very good.
A Patriots team that's built very similarly to that Steelers team, where
Yeah.
they have a significant lack of offense, but they do their best to make up for it on the defensive side of the ball.
The Ravens have scored 11 more points than they've allowed. And the second team that's scored more points than they've allowed is the Browns, but that's only at a 1-point margin. And the other teams have either tied the amount of points they've scored and allowed or are behind on it and have allowed more points than they've scored, being the Bengals. So, to me, the Ravens are still in a really good spot in this division because none of these teams are that strong. I don't think the Browns, until they get Deshaun Watson back, are going to win that many games. They're looking at maybe a 7 or 8 win season. Steelers, until they get Kenny Pickett in there and this team matures a little bit, even guys like George Pickens maturing a bit, they're not going to be that good for the start of the season. And I think the Bengals are going to bounce back. Joe Burrow is going to get there. Maybe they'll add an offensive lineman or two to help them out. But, man, I can't believe the start for the Bengals. It really definitely helps the Ravens out and makes this sting a lot less.
No, it definitely does. And you know what? This is definitely one of the more open, up in the air divisions, especially because, we see a team like the Steelers, who's been so dominant in the past, kind of seemingly fading in their ability to win games. I mean, even Cleveland, too. Cleveland's another team that, obviously it's going to be a difficult time without Deshaun Watson until Week 11. And their big thing is win as many games until we can get Deshaun Watson back, because that's their guy. And on top of that, I mean, to see the Bengals regress in this type of way so heavily, I mean, yes, they did make the Super Bowl, and yes, they were a team no one thought in their right mind should have even graced the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
But granted, this team does have some talent. They have some things to figure out. Still a very young offensive-minded head coach in Zachary Taylor. They got a lot going for them, but at the same time, it just seems like that offensive line is such a major, major issue. They're really going to have a tough time kind of working through that. Adam, do you have anything to say on this division?
This division is going to be very interesting, and it's going to the bottom half might become close, and I think only one team is going to come out of it though, and I think it's going to be the Ravens. The Ravens, I think, are pretty much well suited to win this division. I think they have the most complete roster out of everybody. The Steelers are missing a quarterback and an offensive line. The Bengals are missing a massive part of an offensive line that should be a lot better. And the Browns are, I don't know what's wrong with them.
You just can't lose to the Jets. Let's just put it like, you cannot lose to the Jets. I don't care who you are.
It's really bad. Do noted, though, next week, it's an AFC North versus AFC East matchup.
Again.
The Steelers play the Browns, the Bills play the Dolphins. That's in division. The then Bengals play the Jets, and the Ravens play the Patriots. I think that's kind of interesting. And seeing on how each of our divisions go, a lot will come out of next week and see how each team is.
Well, seemingly this divisional showcase coming up in week 3 is going to be very exciting. Now it's time to move on to our last division we're going to talk about for today, the NFC East, or may I say the NFC Beast. They're an absolutely phenomenal team, phenomenal division. It's very exciting. The fact that the Giants are as good as they are, it's kind of crazy to me. But when you play a team like the Titans, who have a lack of any kind of air game, especially after getting rid of A.J. Brown to my beautiful Eagles. And we've seen how much he has transformed that passing game for them.
He's a dog.
He really is a dog, and it's phenomenal to watch. And it's interesting. I was talking about it last night. I said, we as an Eagles fan, we cannot let the Giants even grace first place in this division. Cannot happen. It is inexcusable. We cannot do it. Philadelphia is far and away the best team in this division, and I think it'd be, it's an understatement to say that they should be anything but the division winners this year. Obviously we see Dallas, and they're kind of fading, and they're a weird-looking team. Yes, they did beat the Bengals with Cooper Rush last week, but that's a Bengals team that seemingly has no idea what they're doing, and honestly, I really do like this division for the Eagles. When you have teams like the Commanders, a team like Dallas, and a team like the Giants, all these teams are a collapse is imminent. A collapse for all three of those teams is imminent, but it just doesn't feel so for Philadelphia. It feels like they're just on the rise, and they're going to keep improving upon what they have. I mean, this division really does feel interesting. I'm not too afraid of Carson Wentz and the Commanders. They saw this week that, obviously he's a big second-half quarterback, big second-half player, but can't do much in the first half and isn't truly clutch enough to help you win those games late. I mean, we saw him make a run. He got it. He attempted to make a comeback, but too little, too late. You got to start earlier. And to be honest with you, I really don't see how Philadelphia doesn't come out on top of this division, and even more, I don't see how they don't come out on top of the NFC in its entirety due to their division.
That's actually a really bold prediction as well, because I want to think of another team to top that, but the Bucs are looking really slow this year.
The Rams maybe would be the only.
The Rams are looking, they're looking good, but they're looking slow as well. And Green Bay's not the same team as they were. This division is very interesting. The way all of them are going to be competitive I think they're always good competitive teams. They're all really well-rounded teams too. All teams have a pretty solid defense. But the Eagles have the best defense. They have the best weapons. They have the best offensive line in this division. You're right. They have the most complete team. It would be tough to see them.
I do agree with that because, we kind of have seen, we've seen flaws come up in this team and that team in the NFC East. We've seen their flaws. And, the one team that we really haven't seen their flaws kind of kill them yet has been Philadelphia. Their flaws really haven't been, anything detrimental to their team and their winning percentage. And that has something to say for them as, you're able to overcome any of your downfalls and you're really able to kind of capitalize on that. It shows what type of team you're looking to be and the team you want to be. And, and to recap on something I said earlier, like I said last night after the game, after the Vikings game, Jalen Hurts' press conference really was a true indicator for where I think this team is going to head. They know they got a lot left on the bone for them to get after and really to make this team a truly complete powerhouse in the NFC. And I know you said it was a hot take, but something that actually did happen before the season is that we saw betting odds dramatically turn in the Eagles' favor as NFC winners, especially on the public side. We saw their betting odds go from, I believe it was somewhere in the plus 1,000 range all the way down to about plus 400. And to be honest with you, that's what I want to see. I love seeing the Vegas odds turn in my favor. That means that somebody knows. Somebody knows something that I don't. And I like that. You know what? And for Philadelphia, I like that. I really do.
I got to say, the Commanders are awful. They're not even in this division. I think they're going to be a 4-win team, 5-win team. They won last week because they played the Jags. And the Jags are an up-and-coming team, but that's why they won. The Commanders are terrible. The Cowboys, I still think they're pretty bad. I think they've had their day in contention, and I think they're going to struggle for the foreseeable future right now. And without Dak Prescott, it's going to be really hard. I mean, that's a guy who throws for 4,000-plus yards every year. He's going to be out for a little while. Cooper Rush is fine. But look, he beat the Bengals, who have been really struggling on every part of the game right now. Mm-hmm. The Giants, again, the other shoe's going to drop with them. Yes, they're 2-0. Daniel Jones is not a good quarterback. He never has been. He's not now. They don't have really that many offensive weapons, and even guys like they do have, like Kenny Galladay, have been huge disappointments. I mean, Saquon Barkley is top tier. Don't get me wrong. He's going to be great, but he can't carry the whole offense. Running backs just can't these days. It's not how the game works. And their defense, it's okay, but I don't think it's that good. I mean, they've already allowed 36 points in the season, which is low, but there are a lot of other teams that are lower. So, to me, the Eagles are the clear favorite, the clear far and away favorite. And if Jalen Hurts continues to play, especially and run the way he did last night, it's going to be really hard for any other team to defeat the Eagles. It's going to be really hard.
If Jalen Hurts can stay on this type of pace, I think we have a potential MVP on our hands.
He's going to have to battle Lamar for that, man.
He's going to have to battle Lamar, but you know what? A guy who's been awfully disappointing this early in the season has been a guy like Derek Carr.
True.
A guy who, not just me, but other guys who are a little bit more insightful to the NFL, like Michael Vick. He did choose Derek Carr to win MVP. That was his preseason prediction.
Michael Vick's word for anything is a good idea, but
well, look, someone who I give you that. I give you that. That's fair. But you know what? As someone who has had that NFL experience, I will take it just to say I made a halfway decent pick. And you know what? And to harp on my guy Jalen Hurts, I'm really excited for him going forward. Now, I want to talk about our last segment of the day, and obviously it's my personal favorite, the theme of the week. So the theme of the week for this week, we really saw a ton of great games, and that's going to be the theme. We saw so many hard-fought battles all the way into the end of these games. We saw a lot of teams just not give up, and that was honestly the most impressive part of this week. We saw teams really battle, really get down and dirty in the trenches and make this a entertaining week for football. Yes, were there a couple games that were so-so? Sure. But we really saw this, especially in the Miami game. We saw this. Even in the Philadelphia game early. I mean, it was exciting. I could feel the energy through the fucking TV. It was so exciting. You can't beat that. And honestly, in week 2 of the NFL season, for the play to be at this high of a level, for it to be this competitive, is absolutely awesome. And I want to see what this means for the rest of the NFL season to come. And I think this is going to be something that hopefully, if they can maintain this type of excitement, this type of energy from the players' aspect, it's going to be a very special season for everyone. The players, the coaches, and even the fans watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, guys, this is going to be the end of the Idiots football show. I really want to thank you for listening, and I want to thank idiot number 1 on my right, Adam.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully another great week of football.
And I want to thank idiot number 2 on my left, Goodman.
Go beat the Pats. Gotta beat the Pats.
And I'm idiot number 3. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate it, and have a great one.